cool features of the Epsilon Rest is something new that Hamskea did last year. They came out with it last year when they launched the Epsilon Rest. It is the rebound dampener system. So they've always had the spring that goes on just below. I'll show you right here. They'd have a spring that would be just below this this cam right here that's going to activate the launcher. They'd have a spring right there, and that would help with the rest rebounding. They came out with this. This is it's an elastometric material. Okay, we're going to get kind of technical in some of this stuff. When you think elastometric, think it doesn't stretch, or better yet, think of a rubber band. Okay, when I say elastometric, when I do this rubber band, I put it under tension, it stretches and then it goes right back, right? So it has an elastic principle to it. So this is basically a piece of rubber. It's super cool, and to me, I think it's really cool to talk about the history of rubber. You know, when we first started trying to use it in industrial applications, like in the mid 1830s, it wouldn't work. In the summertime, it would get super soft and basically melt because of the heat. In the wintertime, it would get hard and brittle and crack, and it just wasn't a stable material. Here comes along this dude named Charles Goodyear, and he wanted to figure this out. He wanted to figure out how to make this material something that was usable, and he figured out how to vulcanize rubber. He did that in 1844, got it patented, and man, we were able to go crazy with all the different applications that rubber could be used for. No, Charles Goodyear is not famous for starting Goodyear tires. He actually had nothing to do with Goodyear tires. It's a cool story. You should look it up and know our American history. So we've got this piece of rubber, and the way this works is this cord gets kind of woven into this piece of rubber, this rebound dampener, okay, and it goes all the way through. Hamskea uses a piece of cord material from BCY. It's actually called their D-braid cord. It is a 100% polyester cord. So here's where my frustration came in on the Epsilon Rest. I couldn't get it to stay tuned. No matter what I did, I couldn't get it to stay tuned. With the rebound dampener, a really cool part about it is that it stretches. As you pull against this piece actually stretches and then goes back. So what we need to do is we need to take this cord and we need to preload it. Now, when I say preload, some people are gonna say stretch. We're not really stretching it, we're just preloading it. We're getting the materials in this cord to settle. When you think about this, a lot of times we'll use D-loop material. I've got a piece of D-loop material right here. What this is a core surrounded by a jacket, and that's where it gets its strength, is in the core of the material. There's a bunch of different fibers together that are taking the load. What you can do is just put it on your press, take a couple of the fingers off, loop this, tie loop ends on the piece of cord, loop it over the axle that holds your press fingers on, and then open the press. And as you open it, it's actually going to pull against this cord. Again, we're not really stretching the cord, we're preloading it. So if you think about this, when the cord is made, you've got those core fibers that are braided together, and then you have that jacket that's put on over the top of it. What needs to happen is it needs to be put under a load so all of those fibers will settle down. Okay, and when they settle, it's actually going to get longer. It's actually referred to as constructional elongation. I actually talked with the guys at BCY about this, and they're the ones that actually manufacture the cord. You'll hear a lot, string builders talking about how they are pre-stretching the string before you get it, so there's no break-in period or anything like that. What they're really doing is taking the string through constructional elongation. They're just getting it to settle down, and they're making the string stable. So that's all we're doing here, because when you think about it, this cord is under pressure all the time. And when you've got this cord that's not stable, that's sitting here under pressure, and it's got a piece of rubber in there that's trying to help it have so much pressure on it, or help it so it will rebound better and not put so much energy back into the rest, it's really hard to get that cord stable when you're installing it. So if you'll take your cord and just stretch it out put it under pressure so you get it to settle and get it to become a stable piece of material, you're going to be head and shoulders ahead. I'm telling you, I had this on a bow. When I first put it on a bow, I had hundreds of shots through it. And every time I turned around, when I look at it and I see my launcher is starting to stand up, I'm thinking, man, I can't get it to stay tuned. Well, it's just because that cord, because of the principles of this material, this rebound dampener, it just was taking forever to become stable. So that's something that we really encourage you to do. All right, next thing that you want to do. So this is one of the universal brackets. It's got several slots. It's got holes on the back, 3 holes on the back, and it's got a peg that those holes will line up with. So you're gonna just put it in the middle. Let's use that as kind of a starting point. That's where we'd put it on like a Hoyt bow. It'll go in the middle. And then you've got these little screws right here that you're going to need that 5/64 wrench, Allen wrench, to be able to install. This is something that's extremely important. Get yourself some blue Loctite, okay? And just take these screws and just put a dab of blue Loctite right on this screw before you install it. Don't freak out. It's blue. You're going to be able to take it back out if you need to move anything. But these screws we have found will back out. We've tried all kinds of different materials. We've tried super glue. It becomes brittle and it just breaks. We've tried wax, sometimes just putting some string wax on those screws. Kind of like the trick with broadheads and field tips. We'll just throw some string wax on them and it'll keep them from backing out. I guess since the screws, the threads are so short, the wax would not work. It just didn't cause enough friction to keep it from backing out. So put your little dab of blue Loctite on there. The 2 weak links on this setup are this cord, getting it stable, right? Getting this cord stable, and then making sure these tiny little screws right here that bolt the whole rest to the mounting bracket, making sure that these don't become loose over time, because if they come loose, best case scenario, it'll start rattling on you. Worst case scenario, it'll actually start moving and come out of tune. But I don't know about you, when I have something that starts rattling on my bow, oh my gosh, it'll cause me to lose sleep at night if I'm not careful. Those are really the 2 tips that I wanted to talk about. From there, the rest is super straightforward to get it installed. You just get it bolted on the bow. You can go onto the Hamskea website. They've got a really good video. In fact, we will do a link to a video on setup instructions of how to actually time the Epsilon, which is applicable for all of Hamskea's rests. Makes it super simple, very, very simple instructions to follow. But if you'll go through those 2 steps, put the rest cord under tension to get all your fibers to settle and to make that cord stable. And then that other thing of taking these 2 little mounting screws and putting you a drop of blue Loctite on there before you bolt it to the bracket, you're going to be so far ahead, and I'm telling you, you're going to love this rest. So we appreciate you watching. This is the first video that we're doing in a technical series on doing your setup. We're going to go through and show you how to install different components on your bow. We're going to look at really the systems that the bow manufacturers have created. They've all done an incredible job putting together systems with all types of integrated components, really working hard to give you something that is so far above what we were shooting, years ago. So we're going to go through that stuff with you, and hopefully in the process help you to become better archers. Even if you don't use any of this stuff, even if you're not saying, hey, I'm gonna be my own bow tech and I'm gonna install all my own stuff. When you know how something works, you're going to be better suited to know if something's not working right. Even if you're not installing it, even if you're not going through the process of doing the work, if you know how a component is supposed to function, you're going to be a whole lot better archer, because you know what to look for on your bow and how to make sure it's working properly. Thanks for joining us, and yeah, come back again soon. Appreciate it. You're the best. I'm gonna put some stuff in here about Charles Goodyear. He got a little credit for what he came up with. Yeah. Charles Goodyear. Check him out. Look him up. American history.
The end of Tim.
Cut.